What's up, Union Arena players? This is Kyle D, better known as Universities, and today we're going to be going over some blue code Geass decks because this is the newest thing in Volume 2, and we'll just talk about them, how they are going from there. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video, and we'll dive right into it. So starting us off, we have none other than the Chinese... Just kidding. This is Little Brother. Basically, Rolo's deck into the new set. If you guys are looking into trying to build a more powerful blue deck for Code Geass and you want something that's Rolo based, this is probably the best option you have. There is another option over the C2 that I'm playing, but I do value drawing cards and getting some pieces into your hand, especially when you have dead cards. And C2 kind of just adds in, and she's 35, so she's a little bit beefy when it comes down to that early game and being on turn 3. You can play her down and have some great value. But if you really want a option that is more Rolo based, you can definitely play. There is super rare Rolo itself, so it can basically sideline something with 3000 DP or less and 1 energy generating on your opponent's field, sideline it. This will be able to remove most energy generators that you come across. So basically, if they have a raid target in their energy life, you can actually kill with the Rolo, which is pretty decent actually. But this deck is focused on the idealism that it should have been a yellow deck. To be honest with you, the mechanics it plays benefits from opponents' cards being suspended and taking advantage of that. So just taking into account, like Lelouch, if there's a resting character on your opponent's front field, draw a card. If you have Rolo itself, you know, on the field, front line, switch to resting, choose one character on your opponent's front line, switch it to resting. This allows you to take advantage of certain key effects, like the Shinkiro. This mech here for Lelouch is activate main if on your front line. If there is a rested character on your opponent's field, draw a card, give this character. Your opponent cannot choose this character with abilities of characters or triggers until the end of turn. This will throw players off immediately. Being able to have protections from specials and character abilities means that their raids aren't going to matter too much against this card. And if you can get a couple, just needs 1. So if you get 2 of these out and they swing in, you're looking at probably the best case option is that if they get an act trigger, right? That's what they're only going to get some great value out of. They can get value out of the draws and the gets, but if there's removal, they need to get rid of these things because they have impact, isn't going to happen. So this card is very powerful, giving that a generic skill. And then you have Vincent Rolo's Fighter that chooses up to, when played, choose up to 1 character on your opponent's front line, switch it to resting. It remains set to resting the next time it would switch to active. Activate main if on the front line, switch to resting. Choose 1 character on your opponent's front line, switch it to resting. So it'll allow you to do a couple rests because then you can combo in with Locket that you can only use once per turn. I get it. I wish you could use this more because, to be honest with you, this is such a game-finishing card combo that it's not even funny. But if you guys want, choose 1 Rolo or Vincent Rolo Fighter on your field, switch it to active. It gains 1000 DP until the end of turn, so it becomes a 5k. And if a Lelouch is or the Shinkiro is on the field, choose up to 1 AP, switch it to active. So as long as you have a Lelouch on the board and the Vincent, I mean, you know, or Rolo in generalization, you should be able to combo off and get some great damage because you can basically in one single turn you can suspend 3 and get so much damage. Players are not ready for those combos, especially near end game where you're doing this. I think this deck is a good sleeper pick into the format. I think this is definitely a tier 2 deck. Do I think it is a tier 1? No, but at least because again, we have Lancelot and, you know, Code Geass, Purple Code Geass, both. I think Lancelot's going to be the tier 1 deck. Purple Code has started falling off, but just taking a look here, we have Vincent Rolo Fighter. So yeah, I mean, up to you how you want to build, but I think this card needs to be printed in every deck going forwards. C2 has Nullify Impact, but when sidelining, choose up to one character on your field. It gains Nullify Impact until the end of turn. Why isn't this universally printed in every color? This should be standards. This is standards. I think bare minimum, Bandai, make this reality. You printed this card, and I think this is the only one in the card game that does this. Do better. Do good. I want this card in every deck. I think players would play this, especially as an act trigger. It's great. Being able to give Nullify Impact after your opponent answers this thing means they either choose to answer everything else and you still have Nullify Impact and you can still soak up some damage, or you Nullify Impact twice in a turn, which, great. Let's do that. I think we need more of that. But yeah, this is Rolo's deck. Now we do have the hybrid deck of the Chinese Federation. This is more because I prefer the play style that it can give, because again, you are using Shinho plus Lee to combo in with the Tianzi. Tianzi is basically the heart and soul of the deck. This one, we need more copies of Tianzi, to be straight honest with you. Zero cost Tianzi is not a Tianzi that I want to have, because again, it just sacks itself regardless of situation, if it's suspended or not, and there's no raid target to kind of nullify her. I wish we had a Tianzi that could just be, you know, once per turn when this card switches to active, like you can switch it to rested to draw a card or something, and then it has a counterpoint where switch to active minus something 5k. You know, do that, and I'm gonna be straight honest with you, that's all you need for this deck, and I think this deck becomes stupid good, because there's just nothing you can do to lower threats down, because Shinho could easily, you know, choose up to one character with 3,500 BP or less on your opponent's front line and return it to hand. Choose up to one Tianzi energy line, switch to active. Actually, might want to be just rest it minus something 5k. Nothing too crazy, just something decent, and give us another Shinho, and I think this deck goes to town. It just has to be like activate main, discard a card, so that it can combo in with this Tianzi, and then you can just have a whole field of Tianzis. Make it double energy generation too, just so that the card, I think this deck will pop off immediately once they go get that kind of card. I think that card would break the mold of this deck, and this deck becomes crazy good with another Shinho and a Tianzi. I think it's just 2 cards away from being the deck to fear in the meta, because again, Shinho just being a 45 in this meta is scary enough. The fact that you can draw cards, get a card back, you know, Lee is going to be able to draw 2 cards, then place 2 cards from your hand into the sideline, boom, you know, that's really good. I mean, you don't even need to have Lee becoming active. I just think 2 cards in this deck can go to town, and I think will be completely balanced and fair. But that's just me. I think this deck has a lot going for it, but the reason why we play Rolo Fighter in it is because I don't think the Chinese Federation build is the best option. Rolo at least allows you to suspend stuff, so that if they have a Nullify Impact, or they have a couple dozen bodies out, you know, a good Rolo turn, especially this one in the front line, before you raid it, you know, if this was in your energy line, you bring it up, you have a few shins on board because your opponent didn't remove them or anything like that. You switch, if it's on your front line, switch to resting, choose one character on your opponent's front line, switch it to resting. So you'll be able to switch something to resting, and then you go right into Rolo Fighter, and then choose up to one character on your opponent's front line, switch it to resting. It remains set to resting next time it would switch to active. So this can lead to locking down like Mustang, shutting you down and stuff. I think Rolo having the ability to lock things down is really good. And I think just being able to shut down like a Roy Mustang swinging at you, a Ichigo with impact or double damage, nullify impact, that's going to just slow you down. I think this is really where you want to be, and I think at the end of the day, this is perfect. But all in all, it's up to you how you want to handle it, and I think this is a really solid. And then finally, here's Chinese Federation. This is more of the pure build that you're going to come across for anybody that's really wanting to play this version. It's got a lot of promise. It's got a lot of heart. 12 non-triggers does hurt me a little bit. Like I said, Tianzi, there's 4, 8, 12 Tianzis in this set alone, but 4, 8 of which you don't really want to be playing. You wish they were just something else. And to be honest with you, they could be something else in the future. At the end of the day, they just don't combo extremely well, but you could use the Genru as a way of comboing on this Tianzi at the end of doing everything, and I kind of get it, because again, who doesn't like a good tribal deck? And this is Chinese Federation, so you kind of get some great value out of that. But to be honest with you, I wish Lee could have been similar to how we have Riza, where if you have Tianzi on board, just plain draw a card. And I think that would have been completely fine, because again, you want to be playing Tianzi, because again, Shinho combos extremely well with the Tianzi, because again, if Tianzi is unsuspended, you get the suspender when you discard an effect by Shinho or Lee's effects, so you kind of get a reuse card to kind of get it back. But now I kind of see why they're trying to do this, because again, when played, this Lee basically draws you a card back with that Tianzi on board. So yeah, there's a lot of combos to try to get off with the Lees and stuff, but you have even the Everlasting Promise. Look at the top 7 cards, reveal up to 1 Lee, Shin, and up to 1 Tianzi among them, add it to your hand, place the remaining cards at the bottom deck in any order. Tribal deck, there's plenty of targets, you're most likely going to hit somebody. And then basically what you can do to close out games with the Shinho is, you know, when Shinho wins glory, you know, this thing comes in for a reduced AP cost. If you choose Shinho when using this card, reduce this AP by 1. Just giving you a heads up, you need to have 2 active AP at first, because again, you're paying 2. You're going to be paying technically 2 when you activate this. You just get to kind of have a small refund. It's similar to how no, actually you don't. That's not true. If you choose Shinho with this card, reduce the AP. So I need to figure out how timing works, because again, it's like activate. You don't choose Shinho, but if you're choosing Shinho, if Shinho's on your field, should have just said if Shinho's on your field, reduce the AP by 1 instead of if you choose, because you're always going to choose this thing because it has impact, and double attack impact at a 55 is ridiculously scary. So, but again, I think this version of Chinese Federation is the weakest, but out of them, I think this one's really strong, just because the abilities and cantrips you can do with it, and the fact that, you know, Shinkiro is a card in the deck. So yeah, but just taking a look across the board, we have a lot going for us in a good way for Blue Code. I just hope they give us some more support. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.